Forget absolutely everything you think you know about budget phones, because this CMF Phone 1 by Nothing changes absolutely everything. And I think it's one of the most interesting smartphones on the market in 2024. Now, before we begin, just to make things a little less confusing, CMF is an off-brand by the company Nothing. Nothing are a brand new manufacturer to the smartphone world. They launched in 2021 and they've already made 4 smartphones, 5 if you're including the CMF. Oh, and in case you're wondering, CMF stands for Colour, Material, Finish. Now, the CMF Phone 1 is currently the only phone that CMF offers. But I do have to say, this thing is absolutely crazy. Now, let's kick things off with the unboxing experience, because that's actually quite an important part of the Nothing stroke CMF brand. Inside, you'll find the phone itself, a USB-C charging cable, and a quick setup manual. Pretty minimalistic, but it's part of the cost-saving design. Most phones nowadays don't really come with any of the adapters or any of the cool little cards, accessories that we're used to, so I think those days are behind us. But it does come with a little SIM ejector. Ultimately, the packaging is pretty cost efficient, but it's not too distasteful that you couldn't leave it on the shelf, for instance. Now, talking design, before I say anything else, this phone is absolutely awesome. It's got a very cool, sleek look to it. It has almost an industrial feel to it, mainly due to the screws that it has in the back of the case, which you can remove, change, swap, etc. Now, the body is made of a plastic-like material, but you can buy cases for around £19 that are a faux leather, just if you wanted to change it up a bit and change the colour. The phone even has a USB-C port, which is quite nice in this price point. You'd be amazed at how many phones don't have USB-Cs still to this day. You've got a speaker grill, volume up rockers, and the power button. Pretty standard stuff for a phone. Right. What normally is standard on, say, a flagship phone is an AMOLED display, not on a £209 budget phone, which is exactly what this gets. Amazingly, it also gets a 6.67 inch display. That, my friends, is what you call a king of the budget. What's even better than that? 120 Hz refresh rate. This thing is mad. It's got such a good screen for a budget phone. Really doesn't make much sense. It's got small bezels, a little punch hole for the camera. Oh, and it gets 2000 nits of brightness. Word to the wise, don't put the phone on full brightness at night time. It's more efficient than shining a torch in your eyes. Overall design of the phone is really, really nice. They have thought about what you can do to change it. You can 3D print things. There's loads of stuff floating around online about what you can do to customize the phone itself. Strangely, it gives the phone a bit of personality and something which we haven't done for years, which is customizing our phones. No, I'm not just talking about phone cases, but accessories as well, such as a card holder, a kickstand, and a lanyard. So be sure to check those out if you get yourself a CMF Phone 1. Now, one thing you're probably wondering is, what's the performance of this thing like? Is it going to be able to handle my emails? Is it going to be able to handle my games? Is it going to be able to handle a heavy user who always uses their phone and is constantly on the go? Well, in short, yes it is, very much so. When comparing this with my iPhone 15 Pro, I'll be honest, this thing outlasts it by a huge percentage. Now, obviously, it's not very fair. My iPhone 15 Pro is over a year old, and of course, this is brand new. However, when doing stuff like playing games, doing emails, doing a full day of heavy usage, this phone is like ready for it, and it's still got 2 days worth of juice in it. Mind blowing. For a budget phone, this thing is absolutely phenomenal. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into the chipset, things like that. I will mention it, but ultimately, all you guys need to know is this thing has got 16 gigs of RAM, the option to have 128 or 256 gigabytes of storage, and it even has a SD card reader, meaning you can have something like 2.2 terabytes of storage in a budget phone. Not sounding so budget in terms of what you're getting for your budget, right? Now, just for clarity, it is powered by a MediaTek Dimensity 7300. It is an octa-core, not that that means anything to me. What's even better than that is it can run League Wild Rift on max settings, 120 FPS, and it does not disappoint. It doesn't lag, it doesn't crash, it does nothing of the nature. Now, on to the part which I found the most difficult, which is the operating system. As mentioned, I'm a Apple diehard fanboy. What this means is I have only used iOS for the past 10 years. Using anything other than iOS is painful for me. However, using Nothing OS was actually quite nice. Now, don't get me wrong, there are certain things which I'm not overly keen on, which is like the brightness bar, some of the buttons, the swipe gestures were a little bit sensitive. Nothing you can't change, in all seriousness. As Nothing is a new company, they're still developing their operating system. Due to this, they're listening to the community. So everything that I'm sitting here going, oh, I'm not sure about that, they've actually got a patch for it in the next update. Now, Nothing OS isn't truly their own. It does run on Android 14 at the moment, soon to be 15. But with that being said, there are a ton of really cool widgets and things you can play with. You can completely customize the phone. It's super quick. The UI is super friendly. To be honest with you, I absolutely love the dot font, which is basically any numbers, any letters, all in dot text. Very coder programming, and I love it. They are reducing the amount of dot font in the next update, but there's still gonna be plenty for people to enjoy it. For those photographers and filmmakers out there, you're probably wondering, is the camera any good and how does it compare? Well, the good news is that I've taken a few photos to compare, but to be completely honest with you guys, I was pleasantly surprised when I found out this thing can take decent photos. Now, it does use some AI features and HDR things that it changes the way that the camera reacts, and it basically, alters the photos a bit, as with most cameras nowadays. Having said that, it does have a 50 megapixel dual camera on the rear and a 16 megapixel on the front facing. They're not going to be able to compete with the iPhone camera and the Samsung camera in the Ultra and the Pro models. But having said that, the price of this compared to the price of those phones mentioned, they're completely different prices. Despite everything, this thing can shoot 4K at 30 FPS or 1080p at 60 FPS. It's also got a form of electronic image stabilization, which is cool, but again, it's not a flagship phone, so it's not trying to be an iPhone. Now, on to my favorite part, the battery. This thing has a 5,000 milliamp battery. For those of you who don't know, that's a big battery. It lasts roughly 2 to 3 days, depending on what you're doing and how often you're using it, and obviously the battery cycle count. Now, it has got the capability of a 33 watt fast charger. The best way to charge it is, of course, with Nothing's own branded products. So to charge this thing from 0 to 50%, you're probably looking at half an hour. Now, there is no wireless charging on the phone. There's no NFC for the phone. So features like that, unfortunately, you don't get. However, it's not the end of the world. It is a budget phone, and there's ways around it. Now, for the 128 gig version of this phone, it starts at £209. If you want the 256 gig, it's £239. You're paying £30 for 128 gigs of storage. This is what it's about. This is what it's about, people. This is what we need. We need more of this. The budget. But in all seriousness, this is incredible value for money. You're getting something which competes with an iPhone, not like for like, but it definitely gives it a good run for its money at a fraction of the price. Just for clarity, you could buy 2 of these, so one for you, one for your partner, one for your mum, whoever you have in your life, and it will still cost you less than buying a single iPhone SE. Math. Now, of course, this isn't the best phone ever made. It is still a phone, there are still problems, there's still going to be things that some people don't like. Whilst the build quality is very cool, very modern, very, I'm going to say hipster. It's not hipster, but you get my point. It's an acquired taste. Because of that, it's plastic. It doesn't have that premium feel to it. Obviously, you can get workarounds for this. You can get cases for the phone. It's really not a problem, but it's worth mentioning. As mentioned, there's no wireless charging. In 2024, it sort of is something that we are starting to use more and more. Probably my pet peeve with this phone is actually the back button. So this is where the lanyard goes. Now, everyone has said this. You can take it off, okay? You can have that off so that it fits nice in your hand. But it then feels like the phone is incomplete. So you put it back on, voila. Then your hand sort of rests on it and you can notice it. It's a little bit annoying. Again, it's not the end of the world, and it has a purpose. It's just I'm not using that purpose. So that's a me problem. And lastly, what will annoy most people is the mono speaker at the bottom. And the mono speaker is a problem for most people because it literally sounds like you have dropped your phone in water and it has water inside the speaker. Again, it's a budget phone, but I'm just pointing things out that people might be annoyed about once they commit to buying it. Overall, this thing offers exceptional value for money. It is honestly one of the best devices I've ever picked up. I'm gonna say again, as an Apple diehard fanboy, I got this phone and I was like, you know what? It's gonna be a cool review because it looks cool. The screen, the performance, the battery, the features, the accessories, the boxing, and learning about the company, because obviously I do my research into the company before I do a video. Nothing is one of these companies which they're going somewhere. In the next 5-10 years, they're going to release some products which are really going to shake up the market. If I could, I'd be a brand ambassador. So Carl, if you're watching, please respond to my emails and sign me up. But in all seriousness, this is a fantastic phone for anyone who's looking to give it to their parent, or as a first phone, or a student, or a backup phone. Now, I haven't mentioned some of the cool little features that the phone has. For a lot of you, these are standard features on your phones, but as an iPhone user, we don't have this yet. Unlocking the phone with your thumb. Under the screen scanner. Things that should just come to Apple. Please just give us these cool features. The phone has pretty much everything that you'd expect a flagship phone to have. And that's because these people designing these phones are the people who are actually designing flagship phones. It even comes with a biometric scanner, which is the equivalent of Face ID. I don't know what Samsung uses, but biometric scanner. Now, future-proofing for the CMF phone, it gets 2 years of major Android updates and 3 years for security patches. Now, this is super commendable for a budget device. And to be honest with you, it's actually quite surprising. They didn't have to do that. They didn't have to give you 2 years of Android updates and 3 years of security updates. That is them looking after you. An average person changes their phone about 1.5 years. So to wrap things up, the CMF Phone 1 is a super compelling option for anyone who's looking for a budget smartphone in 2024. It offers a clean design, a sleek look, good battery life, incredible display, and high performance. And the camera's not too bad. All for a very considerably low asking price of £209, considering what you're getting. It really does challenge the notion that you need to spend hundreds and almost thousands of pounds to get the latest features. Ultimately, this is actually just a nothing phone too. It feels the same, it looks the same, it performs exactly the same, but it's definitely a winner. This is from a pure breed racehorse. So that's my general summarization of the phone. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the video. Will you be picking up a CMF Phone 1? Do you think it's good value for money? What are you currently using, and would you switch to it? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon. That's it for the CMF Phone 1. I'll see you guys in the next video.